What's up, you guys? It's Ben and welcome to my channel where we talk about everything there is relating to selling on Amazon. So if you're interested in that sort of stuff, consider subscribing. Given how many people have left comments on my previous videos about shipping, freight forwarders, I thought it would be a good idea for me to make a big long video explaining everything there is to do with shipping and how to avoid these long delays at the moment due to Brexit. In today's video, we're going to do four things. We're going to talk about shipping terms and how they affect you as well as the shipper, i.e. the Chinese supplier. We're going to talk about and cover everything to do with freight forwarders. What do they do and what their role is when it comes to your business selling on Amazon FBA. And I'm going to give you a few examples, sort of my recommendations of the freight forwarders that I personally use for my shipments coming from China. And then we're going to talk about how exactly they work and what kind of information they're going to ask from you if you're going to use one of these freight forwarders. I'm going to tell you all the questions they're going to ask, all the information that they need that you're going to have to receive from your supplier first before you can get that product shipped via a freight forwarder. And then last but not least, I'm going to tell you all the information that you're going to have to gather to provide to your freight forwarder when the goods have arrived at the British customs to make sure that you pass your products as quickly as possible, that you get you pay all your custom duties, all your taxes, and so on and so forth, so you can receive those goods as quickly as possible. It's really vital that you guys watch this video until the very end so you can have all of this information prepared well in advance and therefore avoid all of these long shipping delays that we're currently experiencing. So let's get straight to it. Right guys, so first things first, let's talk about the different shipping terms. Now, shipping terms is basically the agreement that you have with your supplier, most times Chinese supplier, who is going to be responsible for the shipping of the product. And you have effectively various shipping terms that you can agree to as to which part of the journey is whose responsibility. So for example, in some cases, the shipper may be responsible for the goods right up until they reach the Chinese port. In other cases, they might be responsible midway through, and in some cases, they will be responsible right up until the product is reached your doorstep. Okay, now, when it comes to shipping, guys, the cheapest way to actually ship your products in most cases will be to assume responsibility the second the products have left the Chinese warehouse. And this is what usually the Chinese prefer as well, because then it's up to you to choose your freight forwarder. It's up to you to get those products shipped out here into the UK. However, from a convenience perspective, it's best for you guys to let the shipper, i.e. the Chinese supplier, to take care of everything. Now, this might not be the cheapest option, however, it will definitely be the most convenient option, because then the Chinese supplier assumes all responsibility for the shipment and they are the ones on the hook effectively until the products arrive to your warehouse or your home address or so on and so forth. So in terms of the actual names for the shipping terms, is the two that you really need to be aware of is EXW and DDP. EXW basically means this is where you assume responsibility the second the products have been finished and been taken out of the Chinese warehouse. Okay, so this is where you speak to your freight forwarder and get them to deliver the products to you. On the other hand, we have DDP. This is where you pay your supplier for everything, including shipping, including the products and everything, and then you wait for the product to arrive at your doorstep. The supplier is responsible for paying for customs, they're responsible for the import tax, they're responsible for absolutely everything to do with the shipment. So if there's all of a sudden an increase in the shipping price, if there's an increase in taxes or whatever, then the responsibility is to be covered by the Chinese seller, which is why now you can understand why the Chinese want to get rid of the products, they want to get paid, and then they want you to assume all the responsibility. Now, the reason why I say EXW is actually most times cheaper is because you have the chance and you have the choice to use whatever freight forwarder you'd like. Furthermore, you can actually bundle a few of your products together and use that freight forwarder and even save even more on your shipping costs, because ideally the bigger the shipping cargo is, the cheaper you will be per square meter, square unit, and so on and so forth. However, at the same time, if the shipping price changes midway through transport to the UK, then you will have to pay those additional fees. So it may be quite difficult for you to actually calculate the total price per unit that we always speak about. That is so important to calculate to understand what your ROI is going to be. So in my personal opinion and in my advice, in the very beginning, guys, the ones that are only starting to think about selling on Amazon, or maybe are selling one or two products, consider DDP. Okay, this is where you actually don't assume any of the responsibility and you wait for the products to arrive at your doorstep, and you let the Chinese supplier, who hopefully has got a good freight forwarder and experienced supplier, that will deal everything for you. Now, if one of you guys have been selling for quite some time, you know how the Amazon FBA process works, then you can definitely start looking for a freight forwarder, which is exactly what I do, because the cost savings are tremendous, especially if you start bulking all of these products up all into one cargo and get them delivered all at once. The cost savings are absolutely enormous. So what freight forwarders do I actually use, and what do they do? Well, freight forwarders, the first one that I wanted to show you is Dayguard Logistics Groups. This is one of the freight forwarders that I've been using actually the longest. They're really, really good. They're very attentive via email, and they've got really good prices as well. And what I like about them is that basically they're very, very reliable. And if there is any delays, or due to bad weather or Brexit or anything like that, they will be the ones that are emailing you straight away. You don't have to continuously ask them questions after questions after questions, which is what I really like. A second freight forwarder that I would also like to recommend is Brunel Group. Now, what I like about them is, first things first, is that they are very receptive over the phone. So if you do have urgent queries, you can just call them up and they will be able to help you out as quickly as possible. And what I also like is they do have this spot quote tool where you provide them with some information, i.e. receiving depot, destination port, weight and size of your products, and then you will actually get a very approximate quote of how much your shipping is going to cost if you're going to be using their services, which is really good at least estimating the costs that you're going to have for this particular product. And then last but not least, a company that I've just started using is NVO Consolidation. It's a relatively new company. They do cover a lot of areas in China, and they have been very well experienced as well. And I've been quite impressed by how well they have been answering my customer queries, and they have been a lot cheaper than a lot of the other freight forwarders that I have been in touch with over the last few months. So consider using them as well. Next up, guys, let's talk about what will the freight forwarder ask you when it comes to arranging the shipment from the Chinese supplier. So the very first thing they're going to ask you is, what exactly are you shipping? And the reason for that is basically to make sure to calculate the taxes and the codes effectively, and what will the customs be for this particular product. Furthermore, they will ask you this question to make sure that you're not shipping anything illegal from China, or something that may not even be allowed to ship into the UK. So it's really, really important to provide very accurate information and detailed information as to what exactly you are shipping to your freight forwarder. If you do not provide this correct information, then you may experience long delays and even potentially extra charges when it comes to arriving into the UK. And the last but not least, what may happen, it hasn't happened to me yet, but it may happen, is that if you do potentially get something illegal and that's not allowed, the freight forwarder may have to get you to pay still for the product and not deliver it to you, given that it's not allowed, and then it will be passed over to the authorities and you're going to have to deal with them, pay the fines, and so on and so forth. So make sure that you provide detailed information as to what exactly you are selling or shipping into the UK. Next up is, you're going to have to obviously provide the address of the shipper. So this you can either find out by asking your particular supplier as to where they're located, or you can just go on to their website and hopefully they will have the address of their particular supplier. Now, don't worry about the freight forwarder not understanding the address or anything like that. They do have their agents in China who basically they get the information for, and then that agent will actually give the supplier or the factory a call to basically say, does this person have an order for you guys? When will it be finished? When we can effectively pick it up? So if you do have some sort of Shenzhen address that you potentially can't even pronounce, just copy and paste that to your freight forwarder, and then they will take care of the rest of it. Next up, also really important guys, is make sure you find out what is the closest port to the shipper. Now what you will find across China is that majority of the factories are located by the sea, or at least near the sea effectively. So you will have to ask your shipper, and this is something that's really important as well, where exactly will these products be shipped to, what is the closest port in China, because they do have quite a few of them, and the freight forwarder has to know as to where exactly the ship will have to go to pick up your stuff and then ship it here to the UK. Again guys, it is vital, and if you don't provide the correct port, they may lead to some confusion and you may lead to some delays going forward. That has happened to me, and it did delay the shipment by a few days actually, because there was quite a lot of miscommunication, and then I had to actually pay a little bit extra to change everything on the paperwork. Next up, address of the recipient. Well, that should be easy. This guys is for you. Basically, now this can either be to the Amazon FBA warehouse. Ideally, if this is your second or third shipment, then you just have to tell the freight forwarder that you're sending it to Amazon directly, which most of them will know exactly how it works. At least the ones that I've recommended definitely know how they work. Or you can send the address of your private warehouse or your own address. Obviously, this is really important because the freight forwarder must know where exactly they're delivering the products to. Now, depending on where they're delivering the product to will also depend on how much you're going to pay for that as well. What I found is that the further your products are away from the sea, effectively, if you're right in mainland or something like that, situated there, then you may have to pay a little bit more than somebody that is much closer in Brighton or something. So make sure that to put a very accurate address of the shipment as well, because it's up to you to make sure that all the information is 100% accurate. Next up, and this is also really important guys, and this is the information that you will have to find out from your supplier, and that effectively is the cubic size of your shipment. So there's the square footage of your shipment, but there's also the cubic size. Remember guys, your products will be in one of these big containers, and what matters to the freight forwarder is not so much how much footage will the product take up. It will actually matter how much of the container will this product take up. The more of the container that you can take up, effectively the cheaper per unit your shipment is going to be. However, the way to find this out is by asking your supplier. Now, some suppliers will have a good rough estimate from the very beginning, whilst others will have to wait and pack it all up and then measure it and provide that information later on down the line. However, in most cases, if the supplier has been operational for a few years, they will be able to provide you with that information relatively quickly. Next up, how many pallets will be on this product as well? So if you're shipping something that's relatively small, you may consider even air shipping. But if you're considering shipping something large in pallets, then you definitely have to make sure to provide them with an estimation of how many pallets will be on that container, because the reason why that is important is when the shipment is unloaded, they will have to understand of, do we need just one truck or two trucks, or how many trucks, or a van, or what will be required from the port for that product to be delivered to your house. So again guys, this is the information that you will have to ask your supplier. And now guys, for the most important part, what exactly will you need to provide to your freight forwarder to try and avoid those delays as much as possible that are currently being caused by COVID, Brexit, and so forth? You really want to provide all of this information as quickly as possible, so when it comes to clearing customs, you don't have any delays and you get your shipments as quickly as possible. So the very first thing that you will have to provide to your freight forwarder towards the end of the shipment is an invoice. Now, this can be done two ways. Either you can forward the shipment invoice from your supplier, who should be giving you each and every single invoice through Alibaba. You can just forward that on. All they need is a commercial invoice. Or if they don't, you can just easily create one yourself, just using an invoice generator here. I do have a video previously how I showed you how exactly you need to create an invoice that will be accepted by Amazon. Well, freight forwarders are much more lenient. They will accept pretty much a much simpler invoice, and that can easily be done by yourself within a couple of minutes. Next up, guys, they will ask you for your company information, and this is also really important because For all of you that are asking, do you have to set up a company to run an Amazon FBA business? This is another reason why I'm telling you, you do. And the reason why is because one of the main things that they will ask you is for your company number, okay? And this can only be received once you have created your own company. And that can easily be found either on the paperwork that you receive in the post about 3 to 5 working days after you created the company, or you can just go very easily on the .gov.uk website and then go on to Companies House. And what you need to do is start now and then actually type in the name of your company, and you will be able to find all of the information that the freight forwarder will need about your actual company. Okay, next thing up is VAT number. Now, for you guys that are VAT registered, you will most likely know your VAT registration number, and it will be very, very simple for you to provide that to the freight forwarder. If you don't have VAT registration done just yet, or you're not VAT registered, or it's just something that you're just starting off, then you will have to say to the freight forwarder that you're not VAT registered. You will still have to pay VAT, but you're basically not a VAT registered company, which is absolutely fine because there are tons of businesses out there that haven't reached that threshold just yet. But make sure to include that in your email to your freight forwarder that you're not VAT registered. However, because if you don't include that, then there will be backwards and forwards communication between customs and your freight forwarder as to why the VAT number is missing. Okay. Next up, providing a packing slip. Guys, this is really, really important, and I have a template here for you just to show you what it looks like. This is what you're going to need to provide to your freight forwarder to pass it on to the customs. And in this packing slip, it's very, very easy to create. You just type it onto Google, packing slip templates. You're going to have to type in where this shipment is going to, where it's coming from, what exactly in this cargo, i.e. what is the description of the products, what is the quantity of the products, and then what is basically the amount of those products, or how many units are you actually shipping. So if you do, they do tend to inspect your products and potentially cut up one of the boxes, they will know exactly what to expect. Okay, so this is again something really simple for you guys to do. If you do have any questions on how to create a packing slip, I can answer those, so please comment down below, or I can actually even make a video. However, it is really, really simple. Next up, that what we have to do is get an EOR number. Now, before Brexit, this wasn't necessary in the very beginning, but now that UK is officially outside of the EU, each and every single business, regardless of its size, needs to get an EOR number. And this is basically a number for all of the companies that are exporting goods or importing goods effectively outside of EU, outside of UK. This number you can easily get again via the gov.uk website. And if you are just about to bring on your first product, make sure you do this as quickly as possible, because receiving this EOR number can take a few days or so. Sometimes if there may be a delay or so because there's a lot of people applying for this number at the moment, then you may have to wait a little bit longer as well. Okay, so make sure you get that, and then once you do receive that, you put all of that information into an email to your freight forwarder and send it across to them. Least, guys, you do need to provide your freight forwarder with the HS code of the items that you're currently shipping in. Now, you may be asking, what is an HS code? Basically what it is a classification code for the customs border to basically understand exactly what's in those products, what's containing into those products. Are there any harmful substances? Is there anything that's potentially illegal? And that's how they determine what is the tax rate for the products that you're shipping into the UK. And the way to do this is quite simple, but it will take a little bit of time for you to figure out the correct one. And it's really important for you to get the correct one. You go on the gov.uk website and you type in trade tariff, and you will be taken to this particular website, and then you will say start now, and then you will get a category list of basically what exactly are you shipping into the UK. And it can go from anything from live animals, mineral products, plastics and articles of thereof, and so on and so forth. In the very beginning, in most cases, guys, majority of you will start off with plastics and articles of thereof, i.e. most of the items that we do ship from China are articles of plastic. And then it goes into more detail, plastics or rubber. We go into plastics, And then there are more categories for you guys to choose from. Now, make sure to do a little bit of research around whatever you're selling. Google it, try and find out what is the correct code for this particular item, and make sure you provide that correct code to your freight forwarder straight away to make sure there are no delays, there are no confusion, there is nothing that could potentially go wrong for your shipment. So that's pretty much it for today's video. I really hope you guys found it useful. If you did, please don't forget to like and subscribe to the video and to the channel. There's going to be a lot more content coming up. Next up, I'm going to do a video about VAs, i.e. virtual assistants, what they are, what they do, and the advantages or disadvantages of having one. So stay tuned for that, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye bye.